Welcome to Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. What if you could learn from experienced real estate investors, find out what got them to where they are now, get insight into their daily habits, and take these insights to inspire your own growth? Each week, Jonathan Green shares an in-depth look at the mindful approach to real estate investing. Jonathan is a real estate investor, advisor, and coach, as well as the founder of Streamlined Properties and the team leader of Streamlined Properties on Market, brokered by eXp Realty. Whether you are looking to start from scratch, get to the next level, or just a straightforward and honest approach to real estate investing, Jonathan seeks to provide a free mentorship program you can take with you anywhere. Now, here's Jonathan.
Hey, it's Jonathan. Yes, we are back with another episode of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. But, every couple episodes, I just want to tell you thanks. The fact that you're listening is amazing to me, and the fact that this can have an impact on anybody's real estate investing journey is really a privilege for me to do. So I really appreciate you listening to this podcast. Some other things that would help is if you subscribe to it wherever you like to listen to podcasts, leave us a 5-star review, share it with your friends. Those are really the things that help us grow. This week we have Felecia Froe. This is a great show. It's about having social impact as a real estate investor and in real estate investing. You're going to hear some great tips about how you can do both, which is make money and have social impact. Let's go. This is episode 75 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Felecia Froe. She is the founder of Money with Mission, an investment company focused on empowering professional women to build wealth and achieve financial freedom through social impact investing. I can't wait to talk to you about that. She is also the author of How to Create Wealth That Outlives You and the host of Money with Mission podcast. Felecia, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Jonathan. It's been a while for us getting here. Yeah. On my part, sorry, but I'm glad I'm finally here. Thanks.
No, yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you. And I want to start right in with that social impact investing, and then I'll get to your background. But what is social impact investing? Because I don't think it's a term that like your general investor would think about.
When I use that term, I use it in that all the investments that we make are going to make a difference in the community that we're investing in. I don't want to go in and gentrify and put people out of their neighborhoods and that kind of thing. It is about keeping people where they are or bettering the place where they are so that they can live a better life. That's the social impact. There's a bunch around that. You could get into environmental, social, and governance, ESG investing, but I'm not talking about that. I'm just, what impact can we have on a community? What positive impact can we have?
Yeah, I think a lot of investors think about gentrification in terms of profits, but social impact investing is focused on letting people stay where they've lived their whole life. That's the kind of reverse trend of gentrification.
And making a profit. I'm not about not making money. It's about we want to make money, but we can do so in a responsible way where we're not displacing people. We could do it in a way where we get people access to good food. We could do it in a way where we get seniors good quality living. So there's all kinds of positive social impact out there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So how did you get started on your investing journey? Because I know you're a doctor, you have a whole separate career, but investing became something really important to you a while ago, and you've really started with Money with Mission and kept it going this whole time.
Yeah, I started Money with Mission. We had a different name, so it's been about 5 years since that company's been going. I realized after I started in my practice, about 5 years into practice, that it wasn't the everything I thought it was going to be, and just had this download. This is not the last thing I'm ever going to do. And I came upon, I didn't know what that was. It was kind of scary. I had debt. I couldn't just walk away from this practice. We're kind of stuck. Once as physicians, once we go through the school and once you become this focused thing, you spend a lot of money to get there, and you can feel trapped once you're there if you decide that's not what you want to do. Anyway, over time, my first real estate project happened to be with a group of women physicians where we bought our own building. Fantastic. And we had a woman business owner walk us through that deal or help us get through that. And it was with that I began my investing. Actually, it was one of my patients who's a real estate investor who helped me buy my first property by challenging me to buy the first property. It's like, I'm the person that if you challenge me and act like I can't do it, I'm all in. It's like, prove to you I can do this thing.
Yeah.
And so we did that and built everything really fast in right before 2008.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of buying buildings for businesses. That's always been something that interests me. It's why I love mixed use properties so much, because if you have that, and you feel like as an entrepreneur, you want to start a business, you have a spot to start it. Was that something like also empowering for you all to bond together, buy an office, and then have the practice inside of the same office?
I'm going to tell you, I honestly didn't realize that that was my first real estate deal until many years later. It was just a thing. We needed a building. They
Yeah.
had a built. There was this building here, nice and built, and we could, you had to redo the inside. Actually, we had to get the inside done because it was a shell.
Yeah.
And there we were. It didn't occur to me that it was an investment at the time. It really did not. So when I look back at that, I was like, oh, yeah, this was the beginning of my thing. I just didn't realize it was the beginning.
Yeah. Well, that's a great place to drop me back to one question that I always ask. Before that, and even when you were younger, did you have any designs on real estate investing, or did it all come from this moment and then the real estate investor challenge that you took up?
I did not. I grew up, go to school, get a job, get a great job, make a lot of money, and then retire. That's how I grew up. There was no investing involved in that. I think I learned about 401ks in medical school. And that's as far as I knew about investing until this woman who helped us through this real estate project that we did, this real estate deal that we did, gave me the book, the purple book that almost every real estate person has ever read. And that's what really opened my eyes to money and then to investing and building businesses.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, that comes up for everybody, but it's one that you can still read years later and be like, it still get more out of it. It's just one of those kind of books that, I keep trying to give it to my kids now. I'm like, you guys are ready. Like, let's go. Let's get into this now. But yeah, it's important. So after you got the medical building, you didn't even think of yourself as an investor. You were just taking care of your business at the time. When you took the challenge from the investor, what type of property was the first one that you acquired on your own?
There was a single family house in Kansas City, Missouri. And one of my patients, Jamie, was just a young woman who could come anytime. And one day I finally asked her, what does she do? And she told me she was a real estate investor. And we had just started talking about it. My family and I had just started talking about investing. And this property came up. And I called Jamie to go look at it with me. And she walked it with me and said, if you don't buy this, I'm going to buy it. I'm like, okay, great. Yeah. And then she sweetened it, though. She goes, if you buy it, you can use my crew. You don't have to worry about any of that. You can use our crew to rehab it. And if you buy it, rehab it, and are losing money on it, I'll buy it from you.
This is one thing that I think that I've talked about it a lot on this podcast. This is episode 75, but I don't think that the general public understands how nice real estate investors as a whole are in terms of teaching other new investors what to do and helping them. It's just because it's not something that's really talked about as much, but all of us have these stories where it's someone just says like, listen, you're not going to fail. I'm going to be there for you just in case. Yeah. And did that also help give you the confidence like, hey, she says I can do it, and I like a challenge, so I'm going to do it. And I have a little bit of a parachute just in case.
100%. 100%. It's like, it was, as much as I didn't feel like I was going to need that parachute, knowing that it was there. And then that, of course, the challenge part of it for me. And you're going to challenge me and not let me fail? Of course. I mean, yes, I'm doing this. And this, I don't even remember what year. This was 2000 something, early 2000s. And it was a VA assumption loan. Oh. So this is what I was scared about. Yeah. This was a $500 I needed to put up to get this house. So I was nervous. Like right now, I think about that. Like, what the heck were you scared of? You could throw away $500. Yeah. And it was like, and it worked out really well. The thing is, this is the one thing that I learned, is that I didn't stay in touch with Jamie. That house worked out. And then we just went. Yeah. We went fast and we bought 18 properties really fast. And then 2008 and 2009 happened and we realized how much we didn't know. And I realized that if I had probably stayed in touch with Jamie, she might have slowed me down a little bit and just kind of say, take a look at this and capitalize yourself better than we were. That was our biggest problem. We were poorly capitalized to weather that kind of storm. Yeah.
But I already can tell just from talking to you a little bit that I'm guaranteeing that you've put a lot of what you learned from that and then not keeping in touch into Money with Mission now, because I can just tell, I know, when you have a mission, it's like, okay, you seem like the type of person who's now going to give these lessons to other people to make sure that they don't make that mistake.
100%. That is my goal, is for professional women to be able to, if they decide financially, be able to walk away from their job, relationship, whatever, and be fine, to know that they can do that. And the scary part is, many women know we need to be investing outside of our 401k, but I got my job. And if you're a surgeon, a physician, a lawyer, any of these folks, you're so busy in your day to day, 9 to 5, running the wheel, getting things done, you don't have time. So Money with Mission is here to keep you from having to spend all of your time. I spend my time vetting projects, vetting deals, vetting attorneys, vetting accountants, vetting all the things we need to keep our money house in order so that you don't have to. And again, another goal is to keep you from making the mistakes I did. I don't want you to lose money. I can't guarantee you won't lose money, but it won't be because of things that I already screwed up on.
Yeah, I'm really interested in what you said about the part about leaving a relationship, because I feel like there is a dynamic in marriages, partnerships, whatever the makeup is, that, it's a lot. There's a house at stake if you own a house together, to empower someone and figure out, like, listen, you can leave that and get your own house, figure out the way to get to home ownership again, and then investment. That's really, really important, because when kids are involved and you're transferring homes, there's a lot that goes on in that. How have you been able to kind of work that into a system that's really going to help people understand how important it is for them?
But the main part about this, I'm sure is the mindset. And more for me, I work with the women on being able to walk away from a job, because 70% of women have said they've stayed at a position because of financial reasons. And you get sexually harassed at your job and you have to stay there and deal with that, or you get passed over at a job and you have to stay there and deal with that because you're afraid you can't get something else. If you have money coming in from somewhere else, you can weather a storm. You know that you can tell that guy who sexually harassed you, or woman who sexually harassed you, you can give him the finger that I probably shouldn't flip up on Riverside, and send them on their way. Yeah. And you go on your way, and you will be fine. That's the thing. It's just like, we should never be stuck. We might feel stuck, but when you really look at it, I am not stuck. I can do something different here. I can make that choice to do something different.
That's fantastic.
Same thing in relationships. 30% of women have said they stayed in a relationship for financial reasons. And when you have money coming from somewhere else, how to manage your funds, I can do this, you can walk away. And you take your children, you do the whole division part that you have to do, but you can be safe. That you can walk away and take care of yourself and your children and your house and your dogs and all your stuff, and be safe. Feel good.
Yeah, I love it. Two things. I mean, one, the ability to walk away is so important. Having that investment. I've always said, like, my sister and I, as we held properties over years that were passed down from my dad, we always said, like, if things go haywire with the world, like, we have a place to go. Of course, they're usually rented, but like, that's a huge thing. That's very huge thing. Well, when I got divorced a long time, almost like 15 or more years ago, I was renovating a house. So it was a little bit easier. I was just around the corner, so I could go. I wasn't far. It was easy to work out the stuff with the kids. Not a great thing to happen, but like, that real estate gives you an option that is very hard to come by, because just leaving, nobody knows where to go. If your family isn't there, what are you going to do in the meantime? It's a great thing. And number two, the income disparity and the relationship can be tied together. But like, anyone who thinks there's not like an income disparity between men and women in just all jobs is just not paying attention to what's happening. And that contributes to what you said. Like, you kind of have to stay, because if you go somewhere else, it's not like you're going to get up, a higher rate. That's very tough, especially if the jobs are tough to come by.
It can be. The other thing about owning real estate, or if you own a rental property, not only do you have someplace to go potentially, but if that place has equity, you have money. You can refinance that thing, and now the renters are still paying it off. And that's something I think we don't pay attention to, is that it's not just the cash flow from that thing that you have. It is the equity that's building up in that you now can leverage to do the other things that you want to do or need to do.
Yeah. Do you think that, so say somebody's married or long-term relationship, and when one partner wants to invest on their own, that can obviously cause somebody to say, hey, why are you doing that? Are you trying to like plan something, when it's like, well, I mean, a lot of people have different interests. Some people have all joint accounts, some don't. How do you help people with that? Because I think that's a dynamic that I could see coming up.
I think that's a great thing. You have to, that's a personal communication style. And if you have the right communication, if your relationship is, to me, a good one, and you have that communication, that's just a conversation you have.
Yeah.
I'm doing this for us. I'm doing this because I need to feel safe and secure, and this is what's going to do. This is what is going to do that for me. It actually will start a bigger conversation about. For a lot of women, don't even know what's going on in the financial house that they're living in.
Yeah.
And it can start that conversation like, honey, I don't even know what our money is. That's why I want to do this. Oh, why don't you? I didn't realize you didn't know. Let's have this conversation. Right. So that's a whole nother side of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's all just sounds so empowering. When you first started what was originally what became what you're running now, what were you really thinking you were going to do at the time? And how do you help in terms of like the real estate for Money with Mission?
When I first started real estate investing, it was syndications. I was raising funds for multifamily resort properties, raised funds for assisted living home. And the raising money part, well, while it's okay, it's a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And it's not just the stress of raising the money, it's the stress of being responsible for somebody else's money and knowing that you're looking at the deal. I was like, this isn't going exactly how I wanted it to go. And now I'm going to have to go tell these folks. And while they seem like, yes, we understood this could happen. It's just, it hurts your chest.
Of course.
So now rather than run deals, I would prefer to have people who love running deals run the deal and me connect the investors with those kinds of deals. That's not saying I won't raise money again. In all likelihood, I will, because there's a lot of stuff going on. But that's what I prefer to do. I prefer to make those connections and let my good friends who already know how to run a deal and have been doing it for a long time and have returned money to investors on a regular basis, just make those connections. And like I said, I particularly want to connect people to things that have a positive social impact, not something that's degrading our earth or degrading a population or anything like that. I really, really look at that. And do I connect people to things that I personally would invest in because it doesn't have the impact that I want it to have? Yes, I do. This is not about me. This is what you're looking to do in your life. I would prefer positive social impact. That's what I look for. But if you want to invest in, I don't know, I can't even think of anything right now that doesn't have a positive social impact because almost everything does, right? If you invest in an apartment C class and you make it better, and you don't kill the rents and make people not be able to live there, then that's a positive social impact.
Yeah.
One of the bigger ones that I did is get a grocery store in a food desert here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And while we didn't we raised a little bit of investor money for that, but not a lot because it was our prototype. And that really, really stuck, the social impact thing. This is food, healthy food, or the options for healthy food in a place where there was Quick Trips and fast food restaurants, and that's how everybody ate. And there was actually a study that showed there's an 11-year life expectancy difference with the people in the food desert having less life expectancy than the people not. That was a no-brainer. And so another big thing for me is getting healthy food to people.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic. I think neighborhoods can suffer so much for the food, but it's something that people just, it's easy to, I guess, bypass because you're just not paying attention, or you don't drive through thinking like, hey, where's the closest grocery store?
I never thought about it until I pointed out. I was like, oh my goodness, you got to get on a bus to get to a grocery store if you don't have a car, which then the whole other set of problems because you can't buy frozen. You're carrying a watermelon or you're carrying a bunch of melons. That doesn't work.
How much can you carry? I mean,
how much can you? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So where's the journey taken you over the years, and like what's ideal for you now as an investor for either your investors, syndications, or what you look for yourself?
So I've been all over the place. Like I said, I now live in Oklahoma. That's a temporary thing probably. But one of the reasons I'm here is that there's a ton of stuff going on in Tulsa as far as food access, where we're working on wanting to put little grocery boxes, and it's a shipping container converted into a grocery store in neighborhoods, full service grocery stores. We have a prototype where the folks that I'm working with actually have a semi truck that they drive to neighborhoods, and it's a grocery store where people can come in. And so it just makes that access much easier. It keeps people out of food banks because the food is affordable, And it is a profitable business. So it's not just I'm all about charity and donations and all that. I actually, when I talk to my friends about donations to charities, like I said, it's not a donation, it's an investment, because you expect a return. Whether you expect a financial return or you expect some social return, you expect a return. So everything is an investment. So that's really, really big for me, is the grocery boxes and getting food, easy access to healthy food to as many people as possible. And this one in Tulsa is our prototype. Like I said, we'll get it going here. And then this is a nationwide thing that's possible.
Yeah. And I mean, I think if you just look at that as a whole, there's scale in that, though, for investors who are thinking a little bit more financially, but still interested in the neighborhood uptick. Because if you just look at how a lot of investors will use data from like Starbucks or Whole Foods as relevant in terms of like, okay, there's things happening. What you're doing is a different level of that, because by showing that a mobile food truck can work, that means maybe a grocery store is like, oh, actually, there's a lot of people who are willing to buy groceries there. Why don't we go in? That immediately uplifts the neighborhood because there's more access as well.
That's right. And we're talking about we're talking about not making food deserts, because people talk about affordable housing and low income housing, and then you put up the housing, but there's no access to food.
Yeah.
So we can make all of that into one project.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, affordable housing is definitely a hot topic issue right now, as it's generally not affordable across the United States to just be somebody who wants to be a first-time home buyer now. But yeah, you can build 250 units, but if you build it, in an area where the infrastructure is not there to help those people, they have to travel a long way. That means gas, like you said, or bus rides. Yeah, and I think, urban planning just they don't seem to do a good job really anywhere, in my opinion. I see very little urban planning that's like done well. It's like, I think because they're fixing the errors of the past, and they're just like, oh, let's make another traffic circle. As investors, you look at it and you're like, how does this make sense? But yeah. Do you look at those areas, though, as also with an investor's eye that says like, oh, well, getting homes around here may work. It's also going to help provide affordable housing, equal rent, lower price points, but good, solid rent that matches.
Yeah, 100%. And I look at cities where the housing, and here it's the Tulsa Housing Department, where the urban, oh my gosh, anyway, I'm talking about, where they help with Section 8 housing. Where they are very active and they want to really look and have really good housing. This department here is just divesting themselves of a lot of properties, which is something we're really looking at, to just buy whole neighborhoods, get them up to speed. And then you have Section 8 housing, you're getting government payments, which a lot of people steer away from, but you get good quality tenants in there, and you can vet your tenants just like you would in your full service, full rent properties. And you have money coming it's just coming. Yeah,
I think that investors are wrongfully scared of Section 8, but they don't realize that the tenant has to contribute in most. It can be a little, but the tenant is still responsible for a contribution portion. And Section 8 is paying you, or the government's paying you, HUD, wherever it comes from. That's where the payments come from. So it's very steady. It's kind of like when people think FHA loans are for poor people, that's what they think of Section 8. It's just like, these are just people. They're just trying to get up a notch,
And you vet them. You don't have to take everybody. Right. You can vet your person, and the Section 8 company or the Section 8 provider has vetted them also. You're not going to get drug users. You're not going to get you might, but they get kicked out. Yeah. I actually had that happen. There's like, the woman's boyfriend was a drug user, and they like raided the house. Yeah. Stuff happens, but it keeps your property. You keep your stuff good. So I really like affordable housing. I like food. Those are my big things right now.
Today's show is brought to you by Streamline Properties on Market, brokered by eXp Realty. That is my on-market real estate team. We are investor friendly. We work traditional buyers, sellers, but we also work the investor sphere all the time. House hacking, short-term rentals, flipping, long-term holds, anything that you want to do. We're experienced in that arena. We work the whole state of New Jersey, Philadelphia County in Pennsylvania, Elko County in Nevada, and the Catskills region of New York. So whatever your investor needs are, you can count on us. You can go to streamlined with a D dot properties. Let's get back to the show. Yeah. And what projects have you done? I know you've done a lot of different stuff. When you were investing on your own, before Money with Mission, what other investments were you into, and what do you like? What do you get pleasure out of as a personal investment?
The personal things I've invested in is this assisted living home, which was a 12-bed home that we renovated in Shawnee, Kansas, that we started running it as a business and the home. Mm-hmm. Now we just have the home that we're renting to the business, which I like much better.
Yeah. There's less liability there as well.
There's a lot of things there.
Yeah. Upkeep, all. Yeah.
A lot of things. Before I started Money with Mission, I invested in a resort property, international resort property, also apartment buildings. I also now am investing in some companies, startup companies that have a lot of positive social impact, of course. One of the companies that I'm working with is called Felecia Froe Investors, and you can find that on my site. And they do housing. They're working with water and having local at the business water preparation, rehabbing water. Yeah. So they use the water in the building, and then they have a machine or a equipment that actually will repurpose the water either to make it drinkable. It can go as far as drinkable, or to use it again in their property. Yeah. What people don't realize is that our water infrastructure in the country is not doing well, and we're about some $70 trillion behind in keeping it up. So trying to take as much off of that system as possible is the way this company is working to improve. The other companies under this umbrella are Equity and Help, where they are giving or working with families who have money, have resources, but no credit, and want to buy properties, can get them into properties. Investors can invest in that and then own the note for that property. So you can be a realtor, you can be a real estate investor, and you're not a landlord. You are holding a note.
Yeah.
So, and the company takes care of everything after that. There's a lot of those things. I've invested in those companies that one of them probably will go public here pretty soon. So that'll be a really fun ride.
Yeah.
It's my first time doing that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I have some small startup investments in the real estate space as well. And yeah, I'm looking for things that, again, they have a different impact. O2 Treehouse, because I like tree houses. I think it's a modified way of living for, it could be for investment properties or for vacations or for getaways or things that people want in terms of adventure.
Uh-huh.
And then GeoShip, which is geodesic domes. Those are really built to create communities. And that's going to be an interesting one to see where that goes, because, I'm interested in affordable housing, and I've been watching, there's a bunch of videos on these very small homes in San Antonio that are being built. They're like very, very skinny, and they're selling for like $150,000, and people are up in arms. But people are trying, and they're built by either Toll Brothers or Lennar. So I mean, they're trying, but it is hard. It's hard to figure out where all these pieces are going to fit, and no one's ever going to be happy with the way that it looks overall.
Well, I have a friend who's doing a development using shipping containers and just converting all of those things into actual homes, and they're small, but they're not tiny houses.
Yeah.
And it's very livable, seeing the prototypes that they have. And I had a guy on my podcast the other day who works to get people in nice mobile homes. They rehab mobile homes. They actually he has manufacturers that are manufacturing nice mobile homes that also affordable housing. This is workforce stuff that gives you home ownership. So people are trying. There's a lot of stuff going on to help decrease the unhoused population in the country as best we can. And if the most that the real estate people can do is provide the housing, and then we need other people working on all the other issues surround people not having homes, and maybe we can get this thing solved.
Yeah, I mean, I think shipping containers and mobile homes are really underknown in terms of what can be done. I had Franco Perez on, who talked about affordable housing, mobile homes. Was it the same person?
Yeah.
He's great. I mean, he's just great. And his background is he learned about it because that's what he knew, and he's figured out a way to do it. And I think all of us, if we're involved in the investing space and we have a social conscience out there, it's important to be looking at, what impact, like you said, what impact is this going to have? sure, we can buy stuff for profit. I mean, I think I like profits.
Everybody.
It's enjoyable.
It's important. Exactly.
Yeah,
it's important.
But why can't you have both? And why can't you, like what you're doing, is help people try to identify opportunities where both are at play, so you can make some money and also generate some social impact back.
100%, 100%.
Yes. So does money with mission? Are you doing syndications through that?
I am not doing syndications at this time. I have a community called Wealth Builders for professional women that we do the education and then the connecting to our vetted projects that will meet their needs. So we have a whole conversation about what you're looking to do and then help you do those things and help you turn that money into more money and really get that mindset around money working for you instead of your 12-hour days of you working for money all the time.
Yeah. How much gratification do you personally get when you see someone who starts the program at the finish? And it's, just the start of success must be just unbelievable.
Seeing that light go on, seeing the light go on anywhere, whether I'm, talking to a patient and they understand something and now how they can fix it themselves, or seeing somebody realize, oh, money in my 401k is not the way to really get me to retirement, which retirement is defined in a lot of different ways, but to me, it's doing what you want to do when you want to do it, no matter what age you are. That 401k is not the best vehicle necessarily, and getting some other things going. You can have that. That's your conservative, end of the road. Okay, that's my thing. And then there's all these other things that to me we should have. I heard someone else on your podcast, I can't remember her name, that talked about that also. Just the mistakes we make with our money, just because that's what our parents taught us. That's what traditional media tells us we're supposed to do. But Wall Street is not for the average investor to me. You really got to think about your money and not just hand it off in a suitcase to somebody and trust that they're going to take care of it, because they're taking care of themselves.
Yeah, but I feel like the small groups and what you're talking about, that creates the mastermind principle, which I think is really what helps people actually take action. I was just at a meetup. We had a meetup last night, and podcasts and books get you, they get you there, but you need masterminds and people to take action, because you can look across and say, oh, look, she did it. I can do it too. Like, let's do it together. Yes.
And even talk about the fear you have. I'm so scared. And then it's like, got it. So I had one of my clients called, she had the opportunity to buy a note, a tax lien. And I think it was $2,500. Yeah. And we talked for a while about it. And I said, can you afford to lose $2,500? She said, yes. I said, then let's stop talking about this and go do it. Yeah. And she did it. And like 6 months later, she comes back and say, hey, guess how much I made on that $2,500? I was like, how much? $30,000.
Yeah. And she wouldn't have done it without that little push. And she just really needed the little push. She wanted to do it. She knew it was right, but just needed someone to say, like, just do it.
You're not going to, you can afford to lose $2,500. Go.
Yeah. No, that's great. But it is that person to connection, because you can't make that through podcast or book. They're great. You're filling your head, but you have to see people who kind of fit your own profile to know, like, oh, wait, this isn't that hard. Because again, like we were talking about the overall perception of real estate investors and how much they're willing to help each other. I also think like they think everybody's driving around in a Lamborghini because they see that, on Instagram. But you just read The Millionaire Next Door. Like most real estate investors, you have no idea that they own 35 properties. Exactly. And they don't care if you know. They don't need to tell anyone. They just own what they own.
And that you said something about real estate investors and caring in general. And the ones that I know are not just about the money, because we have the bigger media talking about slumlords and people who have people living in crap. That's not the average or the regular investor. And by average, and real estate investors do well financially, and we care. We're not slumlords. We go to a house that's you can see through the walls, and that's a problem. This has got to get fixed. People can't live like that. So those are the people I know. So that's what sounds like you are out to fix this whole idea that owning real estate makes you a slumlord. No, we have to fix that.
Yeah. And the ones that are, I don't consider them investors, because that's not what it is. I mean, again, I created this podcast as the mindful approach to real estate investing. And that goes to, again, it does go to social impact and what good you want to do and make some money too. Great. But, housing helps people. Even if you're doing short-term rentals, that can be a huge thing for families or people who just want to get away for a weekend and have a nice, place. Like, short-term rentals are great. I mean,
Yep.
I hate hotels. I haven't stayed in a hotel in 20 years. Like, I love the fact that these exist. So I'm not, it doesn't make me mad that someone has like a great, cabin in the woods somewhere. It seems amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
I agree. I 100% agree.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you could give one piece of advice to newer real estate investors based on your experience as someone who had a full career in the medical profession and still does, what piece of advice would you give to a new real estate investor who has a career? What's the first step that they can take to start to diversify and create another level of income for themselves?
Education. So I would never recommend to somebody, education, number one. Number two, don't go by yourself. This is not a by yourself game at all. You really want somebody who's been there, has made mistakes. There's one of my mentors said, you don't have to invent, I'm going to butcher it now. You don't have to make mistakes on your own. You can use somebody else's mistakes. You don't have to have new ideas, adopt somebody else's. So we learn in school to do everything by ourselves. It is, if you ask somebody else to answer to something, you are cheating.
Yeah.
In medicine and in most other things, once you're in your career, you have to ask other people things. And it is the same thing in real estate investing. I would never recommend anybody walk out there on their own. I did and lost a lot of money and lost a lot of emotional. It was awful. I would never recommend that to anybody. So education, mentors, friends, all that kind of thing, and start as soon as you can. Those are it's three recommendations.
No, that's great. But let me drop back on that because the 2008 crash, definitely a lot of people were in a situation like you where they got hot on investing, bought a lot, but didn't realize the impact that a downturn like that, if you haven't been through a cycle. How was that transition? And then what did you learn from it going forward in terms of like what not to do?
The transition was a big, big learning experience. Like I said, I lost a lot. We lost all those properties. My credit score was in the 500s for a little while. And I had to make decisions and leave my home in Hawaii, which I loved, to be able to get back in. And I realized real estate was the right vehicle. And that's where I learned that number two recommendation is have mentors, have people that have walked that path already to make sure that you stay on the path in the right direction and can see the things you don't know. One thing I talk about is we have our box of knowledge. I know what I know. And the box of knowledge that's out there outside of my box, I don't know what I don't know, is so much bigger. That's why you need all these other people around you to help you see and get past your blind spots so that you don't make mistakes that you don't have to make.
Yeah.
You're going to make enough of them on your own, but there's some things you don't have to do. Yeah. So that's just a huge thing to me.
Yeah, I see that with flippers all the time. I try to give them advice, or they come to us and we're, just going to tell them like, I think you're making a mistake here. They don't want to hear it. They know everything. And then exactly what I tell them is going to happen happens because I've done it. I've seen it, but like everybody has, ego in investing. I guess that can be like successful for a little while, but it will definitely come down. It's haunted me before. Everybody has
all of us,
bad investments. I always tell this story though. I'll just tell the short version because you'll understand this. It was right before 2008. I had two houses in Florida and I was moving to New York and I listed one. It was like my favorite house ever. I'd done everything to it. I listed it crazily before I was an agent for $2.3 million. My agent was like, listen, it's not worth 2.3. We should list it at like 1.5. I'm like, you're crazy. This is the greatest house ever. I know everything. And in the first week I got an offer for 1.4 and I was like disgusted, so offended. I'm like, tell them to go screw themselves. And then the 2008, that was like late 2007, 2008 hit. I ended up selling it for like $850,000. Well, welcome to real estate investing. You get what you do when you have an ego, and it taught me a lot.
And that's one of the big things when I came out of our 2008 debacle was like, I'm going to get people on my team and I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to ask questions all the time and I'm going to listen. I'll do my own thing. I'll listen to their advice. I'll listen to their counsel and then make a decision. But you got to have other people outside of yourself helping you make these decisions. This is the most important thing.
And at least so you can say like, okay, I got some great advice. I'm going to take a little bit of a risk. I'm going to go this way. And then, you're going to be accountable for your own risk. I wasn't listening, and that happens. It happened to a lot of us before too.
Yes.
Yeah. They're like, ooh, 2, 3, 4 properties. Like, this is going great. The income's great. And then you don't realize what a downturn can, the effect. And I do think a lot of people are going to suffer from that now, especially in commercial. Everyone's so excited. Everyone's been overpaying for stuff for 3 years. There's going to be blowback on it in some areas. So it just remains to be seen, what happens.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not as bad, but I mean, you and I and all the folks that have been through ups and downs, like it's going to happen. It always does. It's not that real estate never goes down, because we all know that it does. And people that don't remember that and don't listen will relive it. And it's just how it goes. And then we can come, the ones of us who've lived through it can come and say, you'll be okay. Here's what you do to get out of that. Yeah. And it's just pain. It's very, very painful.
Yeah, I wonder if you think, I've always thought that real estate as an asset class is so interesting because you can be so diversified inside of it. Like with stocks, you're, quote, diversified because you have like gas, medical, but like it's still stuff that you can't touch. Real estate, you can have a multifamily, you can have a short-term rental, you can have a commercial property, and they all generate different levels of income, different tenants, and different options. Have you found that over your career that like, just buying real estate, financial advisors will say, no, come on, put this all into the money where we can make money. And I'm like, I'm a real estate investor. I'll just put it all in real estate because it's a diversified entity of its own.
Yeah, 100%. Because you get like short-term rentals, assisted living, apartments, grocery stores, grocery boxes.
Yeah.
I have a friend that does ATMs, car washes. You could be all over the place with stuff. Yeah. Oil and gas. There's so much.
Yeah.
So many different ways. And the benefits of each one is a little bit different. So investing in oil and gas, which I still call real estate, is a big tax advantage. So W-2 earners can get tax benefits from that. So the more you know, the more you don't know. And you just keep searching. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
So people that with W-2 income, again, who are running their 9 to 5, the professionals that are doing that, you don't necessarily have the time to figure all that out. And you want somebody you can trust to give your money to invest. To me, somebody you can trust is somebody whose phone number is in your phone.
Yeah.
And you can call them when something's not going well and they answer the phone.
Yeah, that helps. But I don't think that people realize like every single place that you go every day is a piece of real estate. Every Chipotle you go into, every store, every house you go to is all underlying a piece of real estate that started as land.
Yeah.
So how can an asset like this, there's so much of it, when people say, oh, there's no inventory. No, there's just no inventory for sale. There's inventory everywhere. Look around. You're
just not in the loop. There's deals coming across the table all the time.
Yeah.
It's a matter of what do you want? What are you looking for? How you want to negotiate it? And being creative, and creativity requires rest, makes you be able to talk. If somebody asks you, says, I want $4 million for this. I'm like, cool. Over how much time do you want it? And you might be able to figure something out. If you want $4 million, I want it right now. That's a whole nother conversation. Right. So there's always ways to get deals done that are going to be beneficial to everyone involved. It's just a matter of finding them.
Yeah, and one thing we've been talking about that goes to deals also is just the relationships that you build, masterminds and thing over time, because the majority of the deals are happening before anyone knows about them. People are just focused on what comes on the market or what you get in a wholesaler's email. That's already gone through like 50 investors by the time it gets public. Everybody's been trying to sell it in a way.
Yeah. That's right. It's like, you're getting the dregs.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's like, oh, I got a wholesale email. It's like the best property I've ever seen. I'm like, I saw that 3.5 months ago. It's the worst, And that's why it's hard to be a new real estate investor because you're so popped up. They'll say like, oh, I can't believe this house is still sitting here 300 days on the market. Every investor's passed on it. It must be right for you. You're brand new. Like, perfect. It's tough.
Yeah, just like it is very tough. It is very tough. Number one, get educated, get mentors.
Yeah.
Bottom line,
well,
you guys.
On that, before we wrap up, have you found that like people who come into your program, that they can be swayed by some of the shiny objects out there on the internet, where it looks like people are successful or have a good program, but there's a lot of stuff that's not going to help you out there?
There's my friend, the person I talked about who did the $2,500 deal. She can get distracted by so many different things. And now we finally gotten her focus. Like, okay, what are you really wanting to do? I like these tax liens. Okay, focus. Stay on tax liens. Not going to buy a liquor store. We're not going to buy all this. So like, we're going to focus on doing this thing. And now she's doing really well. I'm really excited for her.
Yeah. I think like focus on something that you enjoy. And then when you get really good at it, then add one more thing that you also enjoy. But yeah, it's hard to say like, hey, I want to be a real estate investor and I'm just going to buy all different things, because you're not, you're not going to make them all perfectly perform if you don't get it.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I've seen it. So Felecia, where's the best place for people to get in touch with if they want to reach out to you about Money with Mission?
moneywithmission.com. Go on there. You find opportunities. You can schedule a call. You can get on our list and start getting our emails. We're on Facebook, Instagram. I have folks taking care of that for me, fortunately. And then the podcast, Money with Mission podcast, comes out weekly.
Awesome.
On all this platforms.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure. And you're in Tulsa, Oklahoma now, but you may be somewhere else in the near future.
I've lived in 8 states my life, and Oklahoma's not going to be I promise.
Yeah, I think I have about 8 myself. So, yeah, it's the fun of it.
When I moved to Tulsa, and people looked at me like, "What?" It's like, don't worry, I'm not going to die in Tulsa unless something untoward happens. This is a stop.
But you're making a lot of good things happen with these food banks there. I think it's really important. And I think you brought up some things here that I think all investors need to hear. It's that social impact is an important part of what you can do as an investor. And you can still make profits as well, but you can help make people's lives better.
Yep. 100%.
All right. So you will find Felecia at moneywithmission.com. I appreciate you. And I'm glad we finally got this on the books and we got it recorded.
Me too, Jonathan. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. That was episode 75 with Felecia Froe of Money with Mission. I'm Jonathan Green. We'll see you next week. I hope you enjoyed that episode of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with me, Jonathan Green. And I just want to remind you, and this is always an uncomfortable part, I don't want you to think that I'm begging for you to like, subscribe, follow, do whatever you have to do for the podcast, leave a 5-star review. But if you like the podcast and you think it adds value in the real estate investing sphere, then just do me a personal favor. Like the podcast, follow it, share it when you can with your friends, and be so kind as to write a 5-star review if you believe it deserves a 5-star review up against what else is out there. I would really appreciate it, and I hope you keep listening.